What is good, y'all? Chris here, and welcome back to Chris and Ralph Productions. It has been all about a month since our last video on our channel that isn't a reel. So, this last month has been quite hectic. There is just so much going on. But now that we're settled in, I figured, you know what? Today is a good day. Let's go ahead and let's get onto the camera and let's talk about some of the news in DC. So today it was announced that Superman Legacy has found its Clark Kent and its Lois Lane. James Gunn taps David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan to play Clark Kent and Lois Lane in the DC Studios film. This is brought to you by Deadline, and obviously multiple outlets were reporting on this. So let's go ahead and let's get into this news. So, if you are well aware and if you follow our channel, then you know that Ralph and I absolutely love James Gunn and his movies. Personally, James Gunn is my favorite director, writer. He's my favorite just person in Hollywood. I think his films and his writing, his shows, and all that resonate with me. And I actually made a reaction video back in October whenever it was announced that he was going to be co-head of the DC studios with Peter Safran, and I was just absolutely ecstatic. So it was announced in October that he was going to take over, and then in January, the last day of January, we did a reaction to his announcement of the DCU slate. And the biggest film and show announcement from that whole slate was obviously Superman Legacy. And ever since then, there's been so many reports, so many just rumors and speculations about who's going to play Superman, who's going to play Lois Lane. Is there going to be a Lex Luthor? Is Brainiac going to be the villain? There's so much going on. Over a month ago, it was reported by, I believe, the Hollywood Reporter that David Corenswet was one of the front runners to be Clark Kent. And I remember making that video and going through a lot of the comments on that video. A bunch of people were super excited because he looks the part. Personally, I've only seen a couple of things of his stuff, and I don't really remember much because it was a while back. But going back through his acting scenes like that are posted on YouTube, he just resonates Clark Kent. And let's go ahead and get into this article by Deadline. Okay, so right here, obviously, it just states following months of audition tapes and in-person tests, they finally found their Superman. Um, and right here, it gets into the strike. So I think what also is a part of this is that for Comic Con, which is about a month from now, less than a month from now in July, it could be a strike. And if there's a strike with SAG, then that means that the actors won't be able to participate at conventions, at showings, and things like that. So I think this is just Warner Brothers and DC's way just to get the news out and not have to rely on any event or anything like that. So, what does this mean for James Gunn's DCU? It means obviously they have the Superman, and obviously they have the Lois Lane, and there was reports that Nicholas Holt was in the testing for Superman. And let's see if they talk about it here. I don't believe they do, but yeah, we'll go ahead and leave that there. But yeah, so Nicholas Holt tested for Superman, and it was reported today that he also tested for Batman. So he's obviously James Gunn has his eye on him, and James Gunn wants him in his in his movies. But it was reported that obviously he didn't get Superman, and that he's not going to be Batman as well. That he lost out on that role apparently, just from what the test screenings are saying. Not test screenings, the auditions and all that. But there's still a chance that he could be Lex Luthor. Whenever I did a reel on him being Lex Luthor over a month ago, I instantly got excited because I, for a little bit, for a short moment, I kind of saw him as Superman. But when you really think about his acting chops and how dark he can go, I think him as Lex Luthor really works out well if he were to, get casted. Um, and let's talk about the DCU and the future of that. So the Flash came out a couple of weeks ago. Ralph and I did an out of theater reaction. It's up on the channel, and we really enjoyed that film. We loved a majority of it. We both gave it an 8. I gave it an 8 and 8.5. It's probably around an 8 now. But we thoroughly enjoyed that film. And but the way that the movie, spoilers, if you're watching this and you've probably seen the Flash, but if you haven't, you don't care, just anyway, spoilers ahead. The way that film ends with George Clooney being the Bruce Wayne for that world sort of indicates that the DCEU is over. And obviously it's going to be over because there's been so many highs and lows. I personally am not a fan of, BVS, Man of Steel. I enjoyed the Snyder cut, but it's not like, oh my god, one of my favorites. But I've seen it a few times. But me being a James Gunn fan, if I'm being biased, then oh well. I mean, I love the Suicide Squad. I really really love Aquaman. I love Shazam, and those films are not James Gunn films, but they are Peter Safran Productions. He oversaw those films and the success of those films, or more so Aquaman. Shazam, the first one, did better than the second one in the box office. If you've seen those numbers, um, but so my question leaving the Flash is, how does this play into James Gunn's DCU? And I've thought about it a lot the last couple of weeks, and I basically come to the conclusion that it doesn't at all. I think they're gonna end up recasting a Flash. Ezra's gonna be gone as the Flash. Um, Jason Momoa, I think he's gonna probably end up being wrapped up as Aquaman. He's gonna come back to the DCU, but just not as Aquaman, because he had posted on his Instagram story months ago of him leaving James Gunn's and Peter Safran's office, ecstatic and basically yelling like happiness, like oh something big is planned. So that basically indicates that he's going to continue, but probably not as Aquaman. And then of course we have the reboot. I personally would want a full reboot. Um, you know, I know James Gunn came out and said that Blue Beetle, who's going to be starring by Isola Manjueta from Cobra Kai, that Blue Beetle is going to be part of his DCU. He said Blue Beetle is the first DCU character, but Superman Legacy is the first DCU film. And a lot of people were confused by that. I personally wasn't, and this is just the article. I'll get more into it a little bit. Let me go ahead and move up just so you can see their faces right there. But it's not really confusing because Blue Beetle was basically wrapping up filming when James Gunn and Peter Safran were stepping in, and so it was not overseen by them. It's not their production. It wasn't part of their slate. But I think they want to keep Blue Beetle as a character because they probably made some changes to that script or to some editing, basically cutting any ties to the DCEU because it's not necessary to have any tie-ins to any past films because it's just not necessary. Just cut all the loose ends of any connections to that stuff and just keep moving. And then I know next year we're getting Creature Commandos, which I cannot wait. Oh my god, I cannot wait for that show. That show's gonna be badass. And then we get Waller, which I think is gonna be, I don't know, coming out next year, early 2025. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I know it's coming out before Superman Legacy. And James Gunn said that Peacemaker is going to continue. So Peacemaker is part of the DCEU. At the end of season one, we saw Aquaman, Flash, and we saw a faceless Superman, and I think a faceless Wonder Woman. It was just those four, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so James Gunn's obviously he's going to want to continue with his Peacemaker, his Suicide Squad, which I absolutely love because those are my favorite characters, my favorite films that the DCEU put out, just because of its writing, obviously. And moving forward for the DCU, I have all the faith in the world in James Gunn and Peter Safran that they're going to be able to basically have a clean break slash transition into their DCU. The Flash was a bit messy at the end with what they're going to be trying to do, but I know that post credit scene and the ending of the Flash was approved by James Gunn and Peter Safran, so they obviously have an idea of what they're doing. But as well as the ending of the Flash, they like, you know what? Let's not even include Ben Affleck. Let's not include um, Michael Keaton at the end. Let's just get George Clooney as a little payoff to his character from the 90s, and let's just move on from it. And does this get me excited for the DCU? Of course it does, because like I mentioned, I just want a clean slate. Personally, as you see behind me, I have a bunch of Marvel Legends and I have a few McFarlanes right here. Got my Superman right there. Nice looking figure. But I've always, my entire childhood, I know these figures don't say, I've always preferred DC over Marvel ever since I was a kid. Always, because I think they have a better mythos, better characters, better villains across the board. Obviously, Marvel has wonderful characters. I love the X-Men, absolutely love them. But I just think DC has just, a vault of just amazing characters that they can really bring out in live action. And the inconsistency in the DCEU from the jump. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you love Man of Steel, then go love it. Go watch it 1,000 times. That's you. But I have a hard time getting through it because it's just slow for me. It's dark for me. And then there's other films in the DCEU that I did enjoy, like Suicide Squad, the 2016 one. I saw that in theaters with one of my good friends, and we both were rolling our eyes the whole time, like in 2016, because we did not like it. And then we saw Justice League in 2017, me and Ralph, and we did not like it. We enjoyed elements of it, but then we saw the Snyder Cut, and we enjoyed that a lot more, but it not enough to be like, oh, continue everything. Let's just keep this going. Um, but was I excited for Henry Cavill to come back? Yeah, I was, because I wanted a Superman live action. I just wanted a live action Superman. That's all I wanted. And to see him in that post credit scene in Black Adam, I thought was really dope. I started like I clapped a couple times because I wanted to see Superman. And then when James Gunn was like, "We're rebooting it," I got even more excited. So we get a fresh start, a fresh reboot in the DCU, and I'm just super excited for this, for the DCU going forward. I believe in James Gunn. I believe in Peter Safran. I think they're going to do a wonderful job. Guys, are you just as excited as I am for this? Let me know down below. We do appreciate the support that we have been receiving. And like mentioned at the top of the video, this last month has been super hectic, but now that we're settled in, we're going to be getting back into long form videos, and I thought today was just a great day to get started because of the massive DCU news. So today is June 27, 2023, and today is going to be the day that is remembered as a stepping stone for the DCU, because they finally found their Superman and, of course, their Lois Lane. So guys, let me know down below, what do you think of this? Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're still watching, then that's great. Thank you for that. But that's pretty much it. We will catch y'all next time. As always, I am Chris. Peace.